Download and delete.
Welcome to 2022.
2022. We are the variety show of podcast because we get into a little bit of everything.
That's right.
I am your co-host, Ty Monsieur,
And I am the other co host, Shauna Lucas.
and that's us. So, like
Wow.
every show, we start off with a motivation moment. Shauna, who or what are you motivating today, darling?
Why don't you go
You
first?
want me to go
I
first?
think so. I
Sure.
feel like I always go first.
I want to motivate people who didn't make resolutions for the new year because resolutions are for baby boomers. I don't think Gen X and what are the other people called? Millennials.
Gen
There,
Z
Gen Z
and millennials.
and millennials.
Yeah.
Where are we? Gen X? Or are we Gen
Yes.
Z?
We are Gen X.
Oh.
Or some people like this word geriatric millennial.
But I don't think that's our
I don't want to be
category.
geriatric anything. Need less a millennial.
It's
But
not that hard to be geriatric.
why?
I don't know, like geriatric pregnancy is over 35, I think, or over
Oh
40 or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
So, I mean, and that's not really old, but
They need to change that form because I don't think that's geriatric.
well,
Or change the meaning of geriatric.
mm,
Her
mm-mm.
little soul to soul over there. Look, keep on moving.
Oh, that's my text. That's my text message now. When someone
Keep
texts
on
me.
moving, soul to soul. But yeah, just shout out to everybody who hasn't made resolutions and who are just living each day for what it is and not taking shit serious this year.
You don't want to take anything seriously?
I mean, I want to take things serious, but how much can we fucking control?
Oh, you mean
True.
that way? Okay.
Yeah, like
I see.
really.
I see.
I really want to calm things down. So shout out to those people. Motivate you to not make any resolutions because you're gonna end up only upsetting yourself.
Okay. Well, we talked about intentions.
Just make daily intentions.
And then I've also heard of this word of the year. Like you have a word or phrase. If
Mm.
you had a word or phrase, can you think of one right now that would
I
encompass
said it
what you want to go
before, so
do this year?
I wanna say it differently. Transcending, but I don't want it to mean like I'm leaving or going anywhere. Transitioning maybe, but I'm
Mm,
not changing like my physical form or like
I was about to say.
yeah, I'm not crossing over from male to female. Not that that's a problem, but that's not the transition that I speak of. Just that in transition in life from one I'm a worrier and I'm a stressor, so I'm really trying not to worry and stress this year. And good news, I've even started therapy. I've
Oh,
had 2 sessions.
oh,
Yes.
how'd it go?
They've really been good. At first I was like, this white lady ain't gonna be able to understand me, blah this skip a woo. But we relate on so many different levels, even if she making the shit up. Um, but yeah, it's been really good.
Well,
It's good.
that's a good thing because
Yeah.
that you mentioned the race thing.
Mm.
Only because as we start to
I
talk,
don't see color. No,
yes, you do.
I definitely see color.
But you better see color.
Yes.
But as people are exploring this idea of therapy for people communities that don't typically
Encourage
right
therapy.
encourage
Yeah.
therapy, there have been discussions about race and like so you got to get a therapist that matches your cultural
And that's what I thought I
background and
wanted was a black therapist, and I had one. Ooh, excuse me, I was about to burp. I had one, but I didn't follow through. You know how I didn't get that feeling. And
what do you
then,
think, that they were just trying to, like, they are too much like you, like?
no, she made it a point to say, "Well, I work with a lot of LGBTQ people," and I was like, I don't want you just to see me as being
Mm, mm,
LGBTQIABC. I want you just to see me as being me, a
mm.
person who has a issue that I think I know how to work it out, but then she questions me, and it really makes me think of different things. And yeah, so that's it.
Oh, okay. Well, I hopefully want to see if you are in like that kind of treatment,
Mm.
that it's not just about um, digging up trauma
Oh
and
yeah.
hashing out ways you are uh, vulnerable and marginalized in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but that the therapist is really putting you on some game.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
how I want to think of it as.
She definitely has put me on game.
Right.
Like things I didn't even expect to get out of the experiences, the 2 hours that I've spent with her thus far. I never thought that I would get to that place.
Mhm.
And it doesn't take a long time. It just takes realization and like motivation to actually do the work.
Right. The right questions and all that.
Woo, did she ask the right question?
Yeah.
Yes,
Questions are important, aren't they?
yes.
Yeah.
The right questions are important.
That's right.
So for my motivation moment, I was trying to think of one, and then I thought about like my reality right now, and and what is keeping me motivated, and I think young people, um, and particularly about returning to school. It's beginning of the year, and some schools, especially in Milwaukee, haven't even gone back to
Yeah,
school
they're
yet.
doing virtual learning.
Yep, they go back Tuesday. Hopefully, I
So they
hope.
just went virtual for a week.
No, it's been two. I think.
Okay,
I think.
so
Yeah, I think it's been 2 weeks,
give you
and
time to be sick. Now, guys, come back.
right, right. So there was just some coverage issues and lots of students with the Omicron variant, and in Chicago they decided to go virtual in the CPS school district.
Hmm.
And just on Friday and Saturday, the students in Chicago public schools staged a walkout. So I think they've only been in school for a day or
A
so, and
walkout.
yeah, so they staged a walkout at I don't know, I think they coordinated it to be at the same time. And they're calling for better COVID-19 health and safety procedures. A lot of their teachers and their peers are sick, and
Hmm.
they want the school districts to like ask them what they want. Like the Chicago public schools are they have their agenda, and they've been going to toe to toe with the mayor Lori Lightfoot in Chicago about
Is
safety
that
for
black
students.
lady
Yes,
with the short hair that
yes,
everybody talks
I
about?
love her.
I do too. She like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, yes, yes, she is for real somebody's educated auntie.
Huh? I don't care.
Um, but the kids in Chicago are like, did y'all even ask us what we wanted?
Right.
I
Like
mean, so you just shut the school district down for 3 days and then decided to go back, and nobody asked us if it was okay. So really, what they want is the option to go virtual if they
hmm
want to. They want the option of being having excused absences if they decide that
they want to stay
they
home
want
that
to stay
day.
home because they're afraid. A lot of people are out, like it's visual, like you go
Hmm.
into the classrooms and kids are gone,
Hmm.
and they're gone because they are afraid or they're exposed and
And
they're
these kids really are
quarantining.
taking it serious now,
They're taking
more
it
so than they
seriously.
were when the Orange Man was in office.
I mean, and I didn't think of it that way. So that's why I feel like I'm really motivated by this, because I think I thought of it from the perspective of the educators.
Hmm.
And I mean, honestly, I was a little salty because, with my son in Chicago, I thought that that would affect him. It didn't, because he's not in CPS. He's in like a different a suburban school district. But it's his senior year, and it's like, oh, here we go
A senior
again.
year? What?
It's his senior
Oh
year. I know,
wow!
in high school,
You
and
guys are getting so
I
old.
know, and
Oh,
I thought it's just from the perspective of a parent. It's
wait.
just
So he graduates this year?
Yes. Yes. In like a few months.
So you're gonna have two college kids? Is he
Yes.
going to college? Well,
You
look.
know. You know.
Well, look. I just saw a little black boy say some interesting stuff about not going to college and why it was important for him not to, and it made a lot of sense.
well, it does for some people, but not for mine.
I know, I understand that, but he was like, the whole system is set up to keep impoverished people in my community down.
Hmm.
He was like, why would I go to school and end up owing this money
Yes,
that I don't even have to pay
yes,
when I can get out and work and contribute to society and make some money
right,
and not have this debt weighing over my head, which is understandable. But it
yes,
just made me think like, wow.
yeah. I've heard that, and I agree with that. But I hope that people aren't using that argument to say that college is not useful.
I think it's useful.
It's
I
extremely
do.
useful, and
I definitely believe it's extremely useful, but there are people that have those degrees and who are put in positions who are just imbeciles
sure, absolutely,
only because they have a degree. They're sitting there, and there's somebody who is in the workroom next to you who doesn't have a degree who is bringing so much more to the table.
right.
So
Yes, yes, I agree.
those things happen.
Oh, we should have a whole show about
We
education.
should.
And
We
all
have so
that.
many educators friends in
We
our
do.
circle.
We probably have, it's been a year now, so it's just been lots of content that we hope people are listening to,
Yes.
right? So no, I just am motivated by the young people finally speaking up and putting their perspective out there for people to consider because it's important. I mean, it's probably the most important factor into
Yes.
how we make decisions. And for some reason, I think we lost sight of that for a little while. So maybe that's
Mhm.
what I didn't like about the Chicago Teachers Union's decision is that it really didn't it didn't center students.
Didn't foster to their needs.
Yeah, right. It didn't consider them. So
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, that's it. That's all I got from that
Oh,
moment.
that's all you got
Not for that moment,
for
for that
that
segment.
moment. Well, y'all know what time it is. Like every show, we like to get downloaded. So well, since I'm starting off today, my download is, this show is filmed on January the 16th, and tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day. Wasn't his birthday the 14th?
Yesterday, the 15th.
Yesterday the 15th,
Mhm.
excuse me, Dr. King. Um, may his soul rest in heaven as he was preaching to the choir today. Um, and everybody's off tomorrow. Well, they should be. And if you're not, um, just enjoy some time. Understanding that this man was he was 38 when he got killed, 36,
39.
39,
Mhm.
39. I know that. Should have
Mhm.
known that. Don't blame me. Um, he did so much in his 30s that he made this man was like a 35-year-old revolutionary. Like, I can't see 35-year-olds walking on the street doing the things that this man did.
Mhm.
And it's all centered around, well, his most famous speech is "I have a dream." And I heard some controversy like, well, his dream is definitely different now, and if he lived in this world, I'm sure his dream would have changed. um, but I think the overall message of his dream was, and I say it a lot, is that heaven won't be segregated.
Mhm.
And I really want to go into 2022 and Dr. King's celebration day of just thinking about that heaven won't be segregated. We won't be black and white in heaven. We'll just be creatures. We'll be human. We'll be spirit. And I don't think spirit has a color. And I really want people to understand that we're given our race for an experience.
Mhm.
And no matter what the experience, you are to experience what your journey is, and take some time to really understand that, and take all of that off the table, and just know that heaven won't be segregated.
Mhm.
For my download and those, in contrast to, I have a dream.
Mhm. Yeah. Do you think that there was segregation when this whole push for civil rights was happening before we were born?
Yes.
So it was an emphasis on
Oh
segregation.
yeah.
Okay.
People wanted to be separate but equal.
Well, they didn't want to be, but they were
They were,
supposed to be,
but we're
but it wasn't
supposed to be.
equal.
They wanted to say they wanted to be separate but equal, and that never happened. We could all be separate but equal. Like, you could be, you're an educator, I'm into the medical field, so we could definitely be different, but we're separate. We have separate jobs, but we're still human beings. We're equal beings.
Yes. Right. And there are some things that um we are still hoping to change,
Oh
you would
yeah,
say, in terms of our experience as
definitely.
people in this world. And so then what what do you think Dr. King would be interested in trying to change if he were still around?
You think he'd say, "Oh yeah, this looks good. Things are going."
The way I thought that they should.
The controversial thing I think Dr. King would be involved in would be to defund the police.
You think he would want to defund the
No,
police?
I think he would be against defunding the
Oh,
police
mm,
because of the because it's divisive.
mm-hmm.
It's been known to be divisive, but if you really look at it, it's not like defunding the police. It's like giving extra funds to mental health care more so than criminal. What is it? Um,
Criminal justice, maybe is that the word?
criminal. When they capture the criminal?
Prosecution.
Yeah, criminal
or...
prosecution. There you go. Let's just say it like that. I think they want to give more help. Like, okay, this is this person's first time committing this burglary. Let's give them some therapy. Let's find out what's going on, why they're robbing things, or felt the need before we just throw them in jail for 25 years to not know anything else but what they knew
Oh,
when they were on the streets.
okay.
And I think that's the movement of defunding the police, defunding them being able to criminalize everything for so long.
Hmm.
Am I not? Am I right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think
It
that's
sounds like
the
what you were talking about was like restorative justice.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
and I think Dr. King would definitely buy into that.
Part
yes,
of it for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I get it.
Because I think Republicans really want Democrats, or really want everybody to believe that defunding the police is taking police off the street and out of the neighborhoods, and that's not what it's about. It's like if the police are going to be on the streets, let them have a therapist with them in case that there is a mental health need for what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk this man from stabbing this lady before he stabs her, and now he's shot to death.
Well, and also, maybe it's a call to trim the fat a little bit. I mean, it's saying, okay, so police officers getting, you know, double time
Hmm.
to work additional hours when we probably should be channeling resources into
After school programs or
or like
something like
yeah,
that.
or people agencies that work with homeless people in the middle of the night, or
Yeah.
teens who have run away or whatever.
Maybe we don't need squad cars posted on the street. We need people who are actively taking people to shelters, or
Helping them access
We still need
resources.
bodyguards. We still need people to take, some crazy people out here these days.
well, mental health is real.
It
Yeah,
is
for sure.
really scary. But
Mm.
that's just my download. Are you ready?
Yeah. Mm. Mm. I'll try to stay ready.
All right.
So when I was thinking about,
The theme of this episode, and the theme of the day this week, that we have a chance to um, be reflective or serve others in some way, which is what the goal is of the day. So it's supposed to be like a day on. You remember that? Like you're supposed to do something, and that day you're supposed to like make sandwiches for the homeless, or
MLK Day? I've never
yeah,
known this, and I went to black schools
yeah.
for prom day.
What do you think you're supposed to do?
uh, live kindly with one another. I didn't know people would make sandwiches now. I don't
um,
think COVID is the time to make sandwiches and give them away.
yes, it is. It's exactly the
We
time to
don't want
make
to trust
sandwiches
these
and give them
people's
away.
dirty
That's it.
hands who made these sandwiches.
No, see, that's the thing. That's what they want y'all to think.
Okay, so we're supposed to go to like somewhere, put some gloves on, make these sandwiches and give them away.
Well, I think access to other resources have been hard for people to get to because of COVID, and so I think the idea is, okay, well, let's get these sandwiches in people's hands, because they can't just go to a church anymore because they're closed,
Okay.
or like they can't just go to wherever.
So where will we go to get? Where are you giving us resources?
There are resources for sure.
What do
Yeah,
we
there.
call 211?
So what I saw, AmeriCorps, if you if you are on AmeriCorps website, you can put like your zip code in, and they'll be like, well, this church is doing this thing. If you
Oh,
can
that's so
donate these
cool.
boxes to this church, or you can help with this thing at this time. But there's a lot of
I
like
feel bad as an AmeriCorps member that I should know that.
they're in charge of the whole public service thing in America
Mm.
around like service days like this, like national service days like
That why
this.
we had to do service days a
Yeah, we did. And
lot?
you always say that you don't remember what ours is, which was picking up garbage in the hood in the
I think
hood.
I remember. Did we go like on like Hope or
I
something?
don't
I
remember
think
where we
I remember
were.
what
I
it
just
was.
remember people were like, "What are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Why? And why are you doing it?"
I saw some people doing that before, and it kind of brought a flashback. Like we did that.
Yeah,
We had
picking
those
up
blue
garbage. It
t-shirts.
was so cold,
Uh huh.
so cold. So anyway, let me not get off track. I'm losing my train of thought. So,
Sorry.
but I also think that the notion of nonviolence. I think you said the theme was, what did you say the theme of Dr. King Day is? I don't remember.
About just the dream that he had, but I said it was more about heaven won't be segregated. So yeah,
Segregation.
the
Okay.
segregation.
So another big important theme is nonviolence.
Mhm.
And I wanted to think about that because I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, and I thought that this was a good place to discuss this. Is
Okay, it is. Let's go.
I wanted to download this idea of the resurgence of um, well, not the resurgence, but the emphasis on gangs in America, and it's
Mm.
becoming a topic of discussion because there's this current movement to free Larry Hoover. Did you know
Oh
about
yeah,
this?
yeah, yeah.
Did you really know about this? Have you really thought about what they are actually asking?
Um, yeah, to let him out because he's a different. He's supposed to be like a peaceful guy now. He wants to restore like the peace within the gang. I am not gonna speak too much on it.
Well, you have to because we're talking about it today, okay?
Um, how long has he been in jail since?
Almost 50 years.
And how old is he?
70.
Um, I think he played a pivotal part in actually having gang structure. I think he played a pivotal part in regards to people back then understanding what loyalty was. Um, so I think that he is. I was like, what is she reaching for? I think that he's paid his debt in more ways than one, but mm,
So okay, so let me get into a little bit more. So
okay.
currently
Thanks for
there's
saving me.
currently there's this movement, particularly led by, well, I don't want to say who it's
JB.
led by, but it's like when celebrities get involved, that
Like
becomes the
JB is
focal
in it,
point. So the biggest players are Kanye and Drake.
yeah.
And they kind of used the issue to
Settle their beef.
settle settle
Mm-hmm.
their beef that they had about which was, I think, over a woman, right? Wasn't it over a woman?
Wasn't it over Kiki? Do you love me? It was over
Yeah,
Kim
yeah, it
K.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I guess now that Kanye is like over her or whatever, is getting over her, he's like, okay, we can be cool now, bro, or whatever. Okay.
Whatever.
Um, but they got together and did this concert, this Larry Hoover benefit concert, and before that, though, Kanye had been trying to advocate for Larry Hoover. He met with Donald Trump in 2018 to try to commute Larry Hoover's lifetime sentence. Um, and he did these very spiritual things during the concert. If you ever got a chance to see it on Amazon Prime, he opened up with the Sunday service choir. They did like, I feel like it was like 20 minutes of singing in the beginning of this concert.
No.
Kanye West, who said he's never performing his songs again, that he's only performing from his gospel album, did like all the hits from College Dropout,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, he did like all the hits from
Well, I didn't know he wasn't doing any more of his songs anymore. Didn't he
no,
just
he
come out
said
with
that.
an
Well, he
album?
said that. Yeah, Donda. He just came out with Donda, but he said he wasn't going to do it, but um he performed a lot of the hits at this concert, which really got people thinking that it was a big deal. So
Mhm.
he's being intentional about how he's putting this cause out there,
Okay.
and he's just like a PR genius, I think, the way he markets himself.
Kanye. And have you seen him in these moon boots?
What I was gonna say with these baggy moon boots and his clothes,
Love, okay,
you love this.
love, love.
I think 2 years from now, everybody's gonna be doing it. So I think it's like
I love
it's
it.
hit.
It reminds me of like how little kids are when they are at school and they have to wear their boots all day because they just, like
they
It's
they
supposed to
left
be
the
like
shoes
I
at
think
home.
he's like a
And
moon person, like he's like walking on air or something.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm into it. So anyway, I was just bringing this up because,
Kanye is saying that it has everything to do with like having economic and political
freedom. He said he knows a lot of GDs and this issue is important to him. And he closed the show, with this prayer, and it's like all these spiritual connections to the concert. So I wanted to know if you think that if Kanye is really trying to embody the vision of like civil rights and nonviolence with this whole campaign to free Larry Hoover, if you think that Dr. King will be in support of this effort.
if he were still around. This free a gang member who, I mean, like if you really, I mean,
Murdered a lot of people.
Yeah, if we probably have some collective amnesia about
the impact of gang violence because it's
Yeah.
not as bad as it was
It's just
once
like
before.
if the Italian community wanted to free some of the mobsters that were in jail. Because
I
he's
think
like,
this is a little bit different though.
I think
why
okay,
is
I
this
do too.
different?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I think a lot of people tend to forget is gang violence or gang culture shifted. But what people don't realize is the gang culture shifted to what we look at it at now after he got arrested.
Oh.
When gangs were first created and initiated, they were created as small pocket communities of protecting your own neighborhood.
Yes,
That's
yes.
why your set or your block, like being from Highland Park or North Lawn or West Lawn, stuff like that matter because you represent your set and this is the area that you are known for protecting.
Yeah, but it was like it was
But
big. Like GDs and
uh,
beat in
that's what I'm saying. That's where a lot of people I
what
think are
Vice
forgetting.
Lords and all that. That was
When
big.
he created the nature of structure in
He
regards
did.
to
He
it.
did. I said
Like
that.
you were in the gang for a reason and you got resources and you took care of each other. It was a family.
It was still killing people.
Killing is gonna happen regardless.
They were still selling
I mean,
drugs. So that's why
but
I
that's when
related to the mob.
that's when it got altered because yes, drugs came into the play, but let's keep it buck. We all still have the conspiracy that the government was pumping drugs into the ghetto anyway.
Mm.
But this was them, but they had structure. Whereas in if you did this job, you got this much money. If you worked your way up to this role. They treated it like a corporate job. So everybody was involved in doing it because when you have a household that has no money, but this organization over here is helping you get money, but teaching you basic life skills at the same time, why wouldn't you want to do it?
So you're saying that the gangster disciples and other
We're like the
street
Nation of
gangs
Islam.
Yeah.
were a more peaceful
I wouldn't say
organization than they were a
peaceful.
criminal circuit?
They were a criminal organization that had structure to it, no different than what some of the mobs used to. You played your role, you played your position. The problem was he took a community and he made them all come together.
Yes.
They worked amongst each other.
Yes.
Therefore, and we all know our government, they don't like them niggas getting a little bit too much power. So you take the head off the horse.
I agree.
So he went down. Now, I'm not saying that, I'm not justifying the fact that, yes, was drug selling going on? Of course. If anybody lived in the hood in the 80s, somebody sold drugs or bought drugs.
Yes.
So I can't hold that against them. But the simple fact that the GDs did get so big and so powerful, they had to shut it down. So, yes, he had to be taken down. The man's been in jail for 50 years. You can't blame him for the outcome of what's going on here and the way the kids were acting after he went because it was a power vacuum.
But the thing is, he still had a lot of power while he was in jail for
He
a
did.
very long time.
And
But
he
it-
was
yes.
still, and the thing about people tend to forget is even when he was behind bars,
He was
he was
still
using that
calling shots.
power to actually educate people. He was helping people. He was stopping things. Like part of the reason why the whole gang war, the Reds versus Blues, Crip versus Blood fight even stopped because they brung him in and had him sit down with a lot of influential leaders and say, "This is stupid. This is not what I did this for. This is not what I created." He talked, and he the reason why the truth even happened.
Yeah, but do you think Larry Hoover created the street gangs to
Street-
further advance peace and justice and nonviolence?
Here's the thing,
and
and here's the number
you
one
know,
thing I want the
black
world.
liberation?
Here's
I
the
don't
number
know.
one thing I want the world to stop doing. Street gangs have always been around.
Since the 30s, since the
Even
20s.
before then.
Yeah.
Even before we glorified the white versions of them by making Gangs of New York movies
The
and
mafia,
Chicago-based
mob
mafia
wise,
movies
yeah.
and stuff like that. But when it's the black gangs, it's like, oh, this is a menace to society. But you've never been in the hood to see the outcome of how those so-called gangs may have made a better living. My grandma and them living over here on 10th and Monarchy never got terrorized by any of the gang members. They actually protected the blocks.
Mhm.
They made sure kids went to school. They kept certain things. They had rules and regulations. Hey, look, there's a school here, here, and here. No selling drugs on the two block radius from them schools.
Oh, so there was a street code.
There's
you would say?
always been a
Yes,
street
there's been a
code.
And when the street code is broken, that's when violence.
That's
breaks
when
out.
violence and retribution comes into accord.
But my thing about it is, it could have been different. It could have been like the Muslim Brotherhood. Not that I agree with everything that they do. Not that I disagree with everything they do. But like how they were providing like food on the weekends to people, and they were providing a community center, and they were providing things that would help the black men attain the things that the Caucasian man will obtain. So it was like the gang had to get it they had to get it how they lived. And so
But
we
here's the
lived
thing: those
the
same
hood.
things they were doing too. The
Yeah.
difference was you had to be a part of this set to benefit from these resources. So here's a building that may have got 3 houses down, maybe a crack house, right? But on the other end of the corner
It's church.
is a church and a resource center where they're trying to help out. They're putting money in here. Grandma is being taken care of. This lady next door their house may barely still be standing. As long as you don't say nothing about what we do in the alley, here's $600-700 every month towards your bills and expenses.
Ooh.
You know,
Mm.
so it then becomes if your gang has
That's
a
called
properly-
hush money.
If
and
your
we do
gang
not
has
endorse
a
hush money.
smart, decent leader,
But I'ma
that
throw
leader
shade if I
takes
can't
care
say
of everybody in this community.
So they represent like the economic freedom in communities, like the underground economy.
Yeah,
and that's
basically.
literally how a lot of gangs started. Had drugs never been flooded into the hood, where now you can make fast money destroying your people, it would be a completely different story of
But
what we're
think
talking
about how
about
they
right
got
now.
those. They got those from the Colombians. The Colombians had to deal with the government to infiltrate the drugs and bring the drugs in. They said, "Don't mess with us, mess with them. Take the black people out." So it's a whole infrastructure
Yeah,
to take
right.
us down.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
just wish the whole thing would have been done differently. Like instead of let's go out and get this $1 million and buy this, like let's go out and buy the block back.
So
Let's
you-
go out and buy our community back where we own this street.
Oh,
we own
so
this
do you
property.
so you think Dr. King would be leaning toward the economic liberation and down with what Larry Hoover was trying to do
Yes and no.
if he were still alive?
I don't
If
know.
Hoover, like I said once again, King came around before the drugs flooded the city, so it was a different viewpoint of how the world.
So he was
looked.
gone before it really
He was
got
gone.
hot.
He was gone before the blocks got hot.
Well, they was doing heroin back in his day.
But
It
they
was hot
what-
shot.
But they wasn't. It wasn't running the streets. The gangs wasn't running the streets. Okay.
Gangs always been right.
They've always. That's what I meant to say. It was the drugs wasn't running the streets. You wasn't going next door and your buddy's at the crib by himself for 3 days because mom's down the street hotboxing in the crack house. We
I
didn't have
don't
no
know.
problem back there.
Oh yes, we did. Did you see Lady Singing the Blues?
You know what I
Billie
mean.
Holiday was toe up from the flow up.
Billie
Kids-
Billie Holiday had the money to be toe up from the flow up.
Yes.
Mm.
Shauna, this download was Sparky.
Good. I'm
We
You
gonna
glad.
made me turn around and
I
stop working.
see.
We're gonna have to
I
continue
see.
on with
Yeah,
this
we got a couple
topic.
menu questions that are related. So
Oh, well, you want to go first? Go ahead.
okay, sure. Well, I'll start with my regular.
Okay.
Um, so if you lived in the '60s, do you
Mhm.
think you would have been a Black Panther or a member of Dr. King's SCLC?
A Black Panther.
I
My
wouldn't
uncle
have
say it all the
been
time.
Either
You know who the
or.
SCLC was, right?
What was
The
that?
Southern Christian Leadership Conference. They were a civil rights organization that Dr. King was president of. He was like the first president. So they
I
they
probably
did like the
went with him and
nonviolence
Bernard
trainings.
Yeah, they
Rustin.
were like
Yeah.
some of the true. I
Yeah.
know. I
Whatever
definitely
Bernard
would.
Rustin was doing,
Yeah, he
I
Bayard
would have been
Rustin.
with
Yes,
him.
he
Yeah.
was in SCLC for sure.
Bernard Rustin.
You wanted to be Bernard.
His name was Bernard, with no Bayard.
It was.
It wasn't no damn Bayard. It was Bernard.
That's what they called
I
him.
know. But I would have been with him because, of course, he was gay. And he wrote a lot of the. He wrote. Didn't he write "I Have a Dream"? The
Well, he
speech?
was one of the organizers. The one, like they called him the
He was a
architect of
speechwriter
the,
too, right?
the. Well, he must have been. He was
Yeah.
his guy, but he was one of the organizers of the.
And Dr. King knew he was gay
bus
too.
boycott.
So. Mhm.
Yes, he did civil
was
rights
out.
march.
Mhm.
He was. He was. I mean, you know who know? I'm sure there were other gay people.
Yeah. What was that? Langston Hughes, wasn't he gay?
They speculate.
Yeah.
Yeah, people
Was that
speculate.
W.E.D. Du Bois, wasn't he gay?
Yeah. It was up in the air.
I
A
don't
lot
know.
of
Who
people done
knows?
messed around with them.
Yeah, the
That little wet
LGBT center
mouth.
had a exhibit about that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, but he was just out, and he ended up getting arrested for having sex in a car.
Who?
Bayard Rustin did.
Probably with another man. They
Yeah.
probably it was the FAS. They wanted to take him down because he
Yeah,
was doing good.
That's right.
Did he do time?
hmm I don't know if he did time, but I know it like kind of ruined his whole image.
They
and-
tried
yeah,
to take him down,
Yeah, right.
but they
right.
didn't because he lives on now.
That's right. That's right. Well, he got pardoned recently.
He gone, ain't
Yeah. Well, he got
Just
like
cleared his name.
posthumously pardoned.
he? Cleared his name.
Yes. Right.
Mm.
Okay. That was my regular.
My regular question is fingers, yay or nay?
Huh?
I've been watching and just like that, and Miranda got fingered in Carrie's kitchen.
Oh yeah, I love that. That was
Did
funny.
you see that part?
Yes.
Did you agree with that? Would you? How would you feel if somebody got fingered in your kitchen and you was asleep downstairs? Like you woke up.
So are you saying that fingering isn't the same as regular sex with any other phallic device?
No, fingering is it could be private. You could finger somebody under the table at dinner and nobody ever know, and it just be like something sensual between you and your lover.
That's right. It's the sensuality aspect of it. It's not like the object.
Well,
of
it's
the-
like kissing. Kissing is sensual.
So is kissing different than fingering then? Like, would you be okay with like somebody being passionately kissed in your kitchen versus fingers?
If I was asleep, yeah, but I wouldn't want you to get fingered in my kitchen because it's like, what do you do with your hands after? After you fingered them, him or her? I don't know. So did you say yay or nay? You never answered the damn question, Shiana.
Yes, fingers are
Okay.
fine. Just
Fingers are
like
fine.
y'all, everybody's gonna
I like
catch
fingering.
Omicron, Omarion. Everybody's catching Omarosa these days. Okay.
Just if you're a person who gets fingered, just make sure your box is always ready.
Is there a safe sex instrument for fingering?
Tongue.
like a
It's called
condom for fingering?
There, you can just put a condom or dental dam or wrap something around
your hand?
finger. Yeah.
Nobody's doing that.
Nobody's. This is the most boring finger ever with a condom.
Do people even use dental dams? Give me a break.
I don't know.
I doubt
Tony, have
it.
you ever used a dental dam to eat a pussy?
Not at all, kind sir.
Have you even seen a dental dam?
Have you ever had a
before?
dental dam used
Not
on
at
you,
all,
Sean?
ma'am.
Have you tried a dental dam? Have you tried a fruit roll
I've
up?
seen it because I remember this time in our history where we were trying to teach kids safe sex,
Dental
and it was
dams.
like this plastic sheet, and I'm looking at this thing like, what?
Have you ever used a
Is
fruit
this?
roll up?
Why would anybody put a fruit roll up?
'Cause
No,
we-
you
I
put
think
it
we've
over-
had this
You
discussion
put it over the
before.
pussy,
No,
and
that's
the
too much
person
sugar.
looks through.
That's too much sugar.
Tom, have you ever used a fruit roll up or had a fruit roll up used on you?
Yes.
Fruit roll ups are interesting.
Mm-mm.
You can wrap the
Mm-mm.
fruit roll up around the men's erect penis and suck it off. That means you sucked his dick a long time. Or you can lick through the fruit roll up on the vagina. So it's like a fruity taste. Now she may get a yeast infection,
I was
but
about to say.
she'll have a good time.
Why
But I
would
think the sugar will take the yeast infection away, right? Because I heard a sugar.
Are you
is
doing
like a
that because you don't
counteractive.
want to taste the naturalness, or
Well,
are
you
you?
may want to taste the naturalness, but you may want it to be mixed with a little strawberry. Strawberry pussy. I don't think raspberry is good. Probably like a cherry pussy would be good.
I think that defeats the purpose to me. I don't know.
You just want a natural pussy.
or
Or
stop.
okay.
Okay, look, let's
What's
go.
your-
Move on.
What's your next question, Charlotte? Happy New Year.
Wow. Okay. So I want us to do a little thing called real or fake. We got a series of statements about Dr. King.
I am Botox. No, go ahead.
And I want you to tell me if you think these statements are real or
Okay.
fake. Tone, you can answer too if you want to.
You know I'm a
All right. The
historian.
first statement. You already tell me whether or not this is real or fake.
Okay.
Dr. King was stabbed by a black woman.
True. Fake. I mean, true.
What do you think, Tone?
True.
It's true.
It
Because I
is
know he
true.
was a cheater. So
No,
Well,
she
no,
was, she
she was
just
just-
tried to come through at the church.
No,
I
it
thought
wasn't the church. He was
It was
at a book
rally-
signing.
Yeah, at a book signing, and she came through
Yep.
like she wanted to get her book signed. She
Yep,
gonna
and
pull
she
out a knife
stabbed
out
him
that
with
white
a
bag.
with a mail carrier with a mail opener. Yep,
Uh-huh.
yep. And they had to rush him to the hospital, but he was
Uh-huh, he
fine.
was
She,
but did they ever say why she stabbed him?
she was just she said that he was
Just-
connected to communists and he was a danger. The civil rights movement was a danger
They
to
think
Black
the feds
America.
sent her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the
Interesting.
feds paid her.
I didn't know that.
Federal
Interesting.
government. I do not believe this, but this is what they say.
Okay.
Don't come after me and my income.
All right. Okay. Second statement.
Mhm.
Real or fake? Dr. King was actually named Michael at birth.
Yes. I just found that out the other day.
Really? I
Yeah.
never knew
His,
that. And I've
his
been in his
real name
house.
is Michael King Jr.
Mm-hmm.
His dad, was
Mhm.
being a pastor, followed the teachings of
Yeah.
Martin Luther and changed their name.
Oh,
I
look at
did
you.
not
Look
know
at
that.
you.
And I've been in his house.
Coming
so-
through with the trivia.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Third statement. Dr. King was only 14 years old when he went to Morehouse. Real or fake?
I think that's fake.
I think that may be real. I think he may have been a little like genius.
No.
Interesting. Okay, so I love it. So I want to combine you two's answers. It is fake, but he was 15, not
Oh,
Yeah, I was like, I
14.
thought he was
15.
16.
He was
Okay.
15 when he went to Morehouse. So that's pretty young.
That's pretty young.
Can you believe
I
that?
know he was dope. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yep.
16 when I went to
He was a little
UWM.
genius.
Does that count?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, you were a little genius then.
I was 15 when I had my first threesome. Does that count? No, I'm just
I'm
kidding.
jealous.
I'm jealous. I would rather have that.
How
one.
old? 15?
I was 8.
8?
Yeah.
A threesome?
It wasn't like penetration sex, but it was like sucking.
Yeah.
And
Like
yeah,
all the foreplay.
all the foreplay, all the humping out. I don't even think our little penises came. They just got like rock.
Yeah. You just like wore yourself out.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
my first wet dream.
That's
Wow, I was like, oh
funny.
my god, I thought I had to change the sheets. And I went back and I was like, it's nothing there. Okay, go ahead.
Back to Dr. King.
Back to Dr. King.
Dr. King's mother, Alberta King, was shot and killed by a black man while she played the organ in church. Real or fake?
I
Fake.
never heard that fake. That's true. That's some good history.
It is in fact real.
Whoa.
Dr. King's mother was shot and killed 6 years after MLK was assassinated. She was killed by a 23-year-old black man from Ohio who was a black
Why?
Hebrew Israelite.
Wow. Now I did not know that. That's some
Mhm.
exclusive right here.
Yeah, he meant to shoot the dad, but she was closer, so he killed her.
Oh wow.
right
What
in
a
the church.
shame.
Isn't that something?
What a shame.
Black man.
I know Dr. King smoked. and
Yeah,
I
he
know
did
he
smoke
cheated
cigarettes.
on Coretta.
Okay, last one.
Okay.
Dr. King's self-proclaimed second wife was a white woman.
Self-proclaimed.
That she's like she said it. She said I was his second
I
wife.
can believe that.
I
'cause
believe
the
that.
federal government was trying to get him with that, but Coretta was like, "I'm staying by my man in this struggle." I believe that.
You said yes,
I
Tony?
say yes.
So that is false. It was actually a black woman.
Good.
Okay.
Her name was Dorothy Cotton. She said that she was his second wife. She worked for the SCLC. She did nonviolence training. She taught people how to write cursive because that was a part
was
of the
young.
voting registration process. Right. He was like a notorious womanizer, though.
Yeah, he was a young, attractive
Yeah,
man back
yeah.
then.
He died
really
before he
attract-
was 40. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he would have been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing had he had lived on.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my what
Was
is
that
that?
all of your questions?
No, that was my medium. I
It
got a
seems
spike. I
like
got a
it.
hot question. So
Okay. Well, describe a racist without saying their color.
describe a racist.
without saying their race.
Describe a racist. Okay.
MAGA hats.
I don't know. I feel like we got MAGA all wrong. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I think so. I
I
think it was
think
just the representation of.
yeah, I think we wanted to have
No, we didn't
a
want to.
clearly
They
delineated
wanted to.
enemy. And so
Yeah.
those red hats were like the perfect
And how
target.
can you make America great again? Yeah, that's
I
gonna
think
happen.
that's the phrase of what it meant. Means you want to go backwards to the way things used to be, and the way things used to be wasn't good for everybody.
Maybe it just
But-
means that you didn't like change.
But when I can say like make America great again, so we can go back to the '90s because the '90s were everybody was popping, the economy was popping in the '90s
Mm.
because that's when it was great. Because I know when I was young, I didn't know how well off we were.
Mm.
Trips, house, black
Mm.
people taking trips, having barbecues in the summer, going places.
But
I
it
never
depends
had
on
to
how you
want
look at it
anything.
because
African Americans on welfare was extremely high during the 90s as well too.
But they didn't know how good they had it. Don't you miss that commodity cheese? Don't that cheese was good, right?
It depending on who cooked
Don't
with
you
it.
miss
Though.
going to the store with that food stamp dollar, being able to get you some chips, a soda, some candy? That was a good time. Whether we like to believe it or not, we went through a struggle, but those were good times. I don't know. I wasn't. Thank God, my mother didn't have to be on assistance for that long. You know, we were on assistance. I think like when we first moved back up here from Mississippi, but then after that, she started working for MPS. But didn't I don't recall the '90s for me were some good fucking times.
but we were young during the '90s, so we probably
That's
didn't.
why.
We didn't
See adulthood. In
I
the
know.
90s.
So,
if
make America great like it was in the '90s.
So
when I
we-
was a kid.
Right, yeah, as a kid, because we didn't have responsibilities. The 90s as an adult may have looked at like trash.
True that.
Um,
So what's your racist
So-
without using a race?
okay, so this is a physical description or just like a general?
Just a
anything?
general.
Whatever helps you
Um,
sleep.
I think to me, a racist
In these days, in our time
right now is a person that has all of the relics of being progressive. So you have lots of books about um, how you are always examining your racism. So there are lots of authors
Mm.
that represent the ways that make you feel as though, or that make people think as though you might be presenting as someone who has examined
Mm.
the thoughts. Like you got the Alice Walker on your shelf. You got
So like somebody who's faking the funk.
yeah, they got the W.E.B. Du Bois. They got
the
They got braids and they may
Or
date black people.
they don't even have to have that. Like maybe they just have they have a certain look. They have a vocabulary. They are versed in the ways that make them seem as though they
Are
have
better than-
explored the thoughts that make them empathize with the Black struggle.
So somebody like who I understand what you feel.
Yeah, do you remember? Did you see? You've been watching the Just Like That. So
Because I
remember,
have a question from that.
yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, when Charlotte had to go to the, were you gonna ask about when she had to go to the black friend's house, and he needed to know all of the authors, and he needed to like know the black.
Do you
her
think that was
husband.
racist?
No, I'm thinking that represents what a racist could look like because but so.
I think he was
She
so
ended up knowing a
scared
lot
and-
about black art, and that was like her
And
thing.
that was dope. And she didn't even know that. She knew that.
Exactly. So, but in her mind,
mind
She
not
thought she
being
needed to
racist
know.
was knowing the books and knowing the
Making
struggle
themselves
and knowing the
knowledgeable
pop
of Black
culture
things,
part
yeah.
of blackness, the performative blackness.
Yeah.
But really, there's so much about blackness, like art and music and history and
And it's
certain
it's so
aspects of
much
culture.
similarities. Like we similar, just like you, girl.
Yes.
The same shit you going through with your husband or
Right.
with your boyfriend or with your kids. We going through the same
Exactly.
shit. So that's what
Exactly.
you need to understand.
Right.
Not who our authors are. Like I get what you're
Like you
saying.
can't just look at blackness as like this thing that you got to know. Like there's the key to blackness that you
Yeah.
have to know.
Like you have to know about a black author or something like that in order to be down. Well, I have a caveat for my next question. Do you
Okay.
think Carrie should date a black guy? Because I said when I watched it, because I just watched it yesterday, and I was like, I think she should date a black man.
I thought she did.
I don't recall.
Somebody dated Blair Underwood. Who was that?
Was that her?
I don't know if it was
Oh, no, was that
Carrie. Miranda.
Miranda.
Did she date Blair Underwood? Yeah,
think so.
somebody did that.
Do you think, like, to progress the show, maybe she should date a black guy? Or
That
maybe
would-
Spanish?
I think that would be a force.
And that's what my boyfriend
Yeah.
said. He was like, that probably is like a force. Like, no.
Maybe someone biracial. I could see her
Okay.
doing that. I could see her
Biracial is still.
like almost a passing biracial man who has a lot of money. I could see her being with. I could see Miranda being with, like they got Miranda with the Latino.
Miranda's
person.
real life.
No, well, Miranda's partner is white though, like in real life or
Yeah.
whatever her name is. What's her name? The actress that plays Miranda.
Yeah. I know, but I don't know.
Let me see. I don't
Charlene.
know.
Charmise, Denise Huxtable. I don't know. What's your next question?
Okay, let's see. My next question is
Cynthia Dixon is her
Cynthia
name.
Dixon.
I know. I didn't even look it up.
You like saw it on my computer.
No, I
screen.
promise. I can't even see a computer
I
screen
know.
from here. I looked down at my paper and saw a C. So I was like, Cynthia Dixon.
Okay, my next question, right? This is my
Yeah.
last question.
Okay.
So, I'm laughing at myself. Growing up in Milwaukee, we had a specific group of gangs, right? That influenced
we?
our, we had the GDs and the
Vice Lords and the Lag Kings. and
Okay.
POS boys. I'm aging myself, but
Yeah.
do you feel like
this is a funny question. Do you feel like you had a preference of gangs when you were growing
Yes.
up?
It was GD because the one GD blue and black, right?
Yes.
It was GD.
Why?
I don't know. Like most of my people that went to my Catholic school or repping GD, but I don't think none of those boys were GD. And I can recall a time where I was on the bus and I was the same Tyler I am now. And it was like some gang members on the bus and they was like, spit your lid. And he was like spitting his lid and all this. And I never felt uncomfortable around those guys.
Mm.
So I could say like they weren't thinking about like bashing. They were more thinking about like repping their city and trying to be hard, but they really weren't hard. So I would say GD, and it's probably just because blue was my favorite color back then, and then red reminded me of blood, and I was like, I don't want to wear this. I don't want to get shot. So
What were
yeah.
the Latin Kings colors?
And then I ended up getting shot.
Mm,
Did Latin Kings have a color? I think there was this black and white bandanas, right? White. What'd you say?
Black
White,
and yellow.
black and yellow.
Yep.
Black and yellow.
Did
Is
you
that what
know
that
any
song
Latin
is for?
Kings?
Not personally. I didn't know no, I didn't know like a lot of known gang members, I'll say.
My family came from East St. Louis when like when I was very, very young. And in East St. Louis, they weren't necessarily gangs, but there were, I don't know if they should be called
cliques, but they weren't defined as like their G's and Vice Lords. Like not at that time.
so
Mhm.
not in East St. Louis. So my aunt and my uncles would always tell the story about how when they got to Milwaukee, they met some of the street gangs and they would just like laugh. They thought it was laughable that these like
What are
little
you
puny
doing?
it's
Yeah.
like y'all are not intimidating at all, and so and gangs weren't a problem there, but they were still very intimidating presences there was an intimidating presence in the street at all times in East
Mhm.
St. Louis.
But they weren't like gangs.
Yeah.
So I wonder what that says about like what the purpose of gangs are. Like maybe it makes you feel secure and
Mhm.
like dangerous when you are with a group of people.
But yeah, I have to say we were around a lot of GDs too. But
Yeah.
then, do you know about the Black Disciples and like how
Yeah.
deep it gets in Chicago? Like with
Five
all,
percenters.
yes,
Yeah.
like the Peace
Mhm.
Stones and all those.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. And I don't know if BD and GD is the same. It gets really deep. It gets really complex.
It's different. I
No,
think
black gangsters are
yeah.
different than gangster
Disciples.
disciples.
Or are they?
Yeah, it's
They're
two
not
different
under the.
gangs.
Isn't the star like the 6-point star and the?
There's
See,
maybe
and
like
that's
a
the
5-point
difference. There's a
star.
six,
like
there's a
something
five,
around
there's-
it.
Yeah, all that
There's a
stuff.
lot that
Mhm.
goes. You know what? Just we're gonna leave gang culture alone right now.
No,
Before
Trust me, we gonna
that's
leave
my
it
point
alone.
of bringing it up
Before y'all
because
find out something about me, y'all.
I don't want to
No,
find
I
anything
want-
about
I want
it.
to talk about it because I feel like it's one of those things that is discussed in like certain circles, and we really just act
Look-
like
Okay,
it's
so
let's do this.
scary.
Let's do this.
No, I want to
No,
say
no, because I think a lot of people tend to not grasp the concept. Gang culture is really no different than fraternity and sorority culture.
I agree. I
So
agree.
there are aspects that you know about, but
But
if
you
you're
just
not
don't talk
about that
about.
life,
you just
you don't talk
about.
about that life.
Yes.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes. Like
That
if
is
somebody
that-
put
that-
up on you and be
why
like,
do you think
"Spit your
every
lid,"
time? Why do you think
yeah.
every time people who are not been to college hear about fraternities and sororities,
They get
and
turned
people
off.
explain to you about it, they be like, "Oh, so y'all just another form of a gang."
They think that about PA though.
Oh,
No,
a
because when
cult.
you sit, no disrespect to fraternities and sororities, because this is definitely the month when a lot of them were born.
Yes, the Founders Day was yesterday.
Yeah, for the AKAs, you'll look at a lot of things that they have in common with the gang culture, such as in forms of initiation, such as in
Promote
dues and stuff,
within.
promoting within in regards to it,
Interesting.
colors, sets, dance. Look at how a fraternity and a sorority completely represents themselves in public, and then look at how gangs used to represent
It's,
themselves in
it's
public.
kind of the same.
It's literally
thing.
the same
Aspect.
platform.
Yeah.
Interesting. I
It's
didn't
a
think
carbon
I didn't think
copy.
of that.
And a
I
lot of people
did.
don't because they only look at the gang cultures
violence.
from a negative connotation
Yeah.
and not literally find out what the initial reason for all this was.
Okay, that's a great point that you bring up that I didn't even think of with this.
That's what you get here on download.
That's why if you haven't noticed how defensive I've been this whole conversation,
Yeah,
about
but-
GD
gangs,
over there.
But it's time for us to be able to talk about this because gangs are different now. I think,
gang-
think-
they have a different influence in society.
What I've been trying to say, I think my deletion is I want to take away from.
Oh, you don't have any more questions?
No, my
Okay.
question.
Okay, good. Go
didn't
ahead,
really
delete.
tie into
Yeah.
that. My deletion was basically I want gangs to be not glorified, but put on the same kind of level as how like they idolize the mobsters. There were some gang members like BMF is about Big Meech, and Big Meech did a lot for his community. Big Meech,
Mm.
he made $1 million a week, but he bought all new shoes. He bought school clothes. He bought school supplies. He fed on Thanksgiving and Christmas. He made
basically
sure those people
Nino
had gifts.
Brown.
Mm.
The
But
concept
Did
of
you hear that
Nino
they're
Brown,
bringing what was that show Nino Brown was on?
New
New
Jack
Jack
City.
New
City.
Jack City. It's
Mhm.
gonna be a series now.
It makes sense because if you
Yeah.
really pay attention to the power and then BMF
It's just New Jack
and,
City.
and Snowfalls, it's literally still New Jack City.
Yeah.
It is okay. So going on the back of that, yes, it is glorified like the way these mobster movies and stuff is, but because it's usually told from the aspect of white society,
Yeah.
they will always emphasize the violence and the drugs and all of that to it before
the
they
mob was
emphasize
so much worse.
right. But
And the
instead of
mob killed their
emphasizing
own,
the
like, the
positivity
black
in the regards
gangs
to it,
killed their own too.
like if they emphasize the fact that Big Meech may have went out here and moved 100 kilos worth of drugs in the weekend, but when he brung that money back, he paid for kids to go to schools and got
College
things with it
and-
and put people
yes.
through. He did positive things, which if you're smart, you're buying silence. But at
That's
the
what he
same
was doing.
time, you're improving the quality of life for people as well
For
too.
people that you know. I
Right.
mean, I think they did all that he could do. That's all he knew how to do.
Right.
I mean, of course, they knew about going to college and stuff like that, but some of those things aren't afforded to our people. This is another conversation, but that was my delete.
Okay, well, and I don't like the word piggyback, but I want to supplement the what you said with this idea that I think gang culture has influenced a lot of the black experience in America.
I agree.
No matter
Especially
if you
hip-hop
no matter
music.
if you've been in a gang or if you have never been in a gang.
Yes.
If you grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s,
Yes.
you can freely discuss the black experience as it relates to gang culture
Nothing
in
but a
America.
G-thing, baby. It was a whole
Because
song.
you could see the gang culture as it was. You seen the transition of the gang culture pre Larry Hoover, when it was literally your block just protecting your block
Yeah,
to
but
coming together.
also, personally, I married a black disciple who is forever going to be a black disciple, even though he is almost 50 years old.
But
He's
Okay.
almost 50 years old. And it's like, and he is all, and he didn't get jumped out. They didn't jump him out of the gang.
he
Did he get
aged out.
jumped in?
No, he just like went to college and just, you know what I mean.
He aged out. He got moved around.
He got-
it's the
so
same-
I'm just saying.
I see where you saying.
Yes,
I know
you know
you
what I'm
find
trying
it
to
funny
say.
because
Okay.
you should, as you get older, mature, as you move away from
That's
that
what I'm going.
lifestyle.
And I have a son
And you-
who has been exposed to that culture.
But
you
you've
know,
ever heard the
and
phrase?
couldn't get away from it.
Have you ever heard the phrase? You can take a person out the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out the person.
True. Some ways.
No, hold on. I'm going somewhere with this.
Okay. yeah.
Okay. The gang life is kind of like that. When this has been embedded in what your DNA structure of how you handle society, it will always be there. Just like individuals who joined the Marines. They can go into the Marines. They could have only been in the Marines for 8 years,
Mhm.
but the way they move for the rest of their life will always be the direction and the way that the Marines had taught them to move. It takes them years to pull back that mentality, and even then they don't. Then when they have sons and daughters, they raise them with that same
Mhm.
kind of style and mentality
Mhm.
because it's a
Sounds like the
survival
Catholic
thing.
Church.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. So I just want us to. I'm just saying that I want to delete this notion that it's still some sort of like underground society because
It will always be.
it won't be because
It's a secret
Kanye and
society.
Drake.
All we ask is
Kanye
trust.
and Drake have brought it to the mainstream for the white folk, for the non-gang members, for the non-famous people. For the famous people to understand. I mean, I don't think they're talking about Mike Tyson was at this concert. All these
Probably was.
people were at this concert who have nothing to do with gang culture, but now they're brought into it, and the issue has been elevated to celebrity status.
True.
Now. Like Larry Hoover is now brought into pop culture celebrity status by being endorsed by Kanye and Drake to the highest heights. And
Well, I
and
think he's
before it
been
was
in
like
there.
a taboo
He
subject where you can't
technically
talk
has
about it.
been
Rick
there.
Ross, I think on Big Meats, Larry Hoover.
He's
I
been-
think it's
believe
so
it or
many
not,
This is
things
recent,
about
though.
it.
He's
Yeah.
been there just as much as Tony Montana has been there. Just as much as Capone has been there.
But they've been given a different platform to say that these were men who were making money. I think they're relished. We've never seen a reality show gang wives
Mm.
or
Mhm.
anything like that. But they've glorified mob wives.
They have.
So that was like my delete. I want
Mhm.
to take the negativity away from
We
the black
do need
people.
to take a negativity away from them, because at the end of the day, we tend to forget that the gang culture initially started as a form of community and survival.
Mm.
Okay.
Stop killing us. Stop killing each other.
And remember Dr. King's dream of nonviolence.
There we
And I
go.
want to
Nonviolence.
reiterate that point.
Violence is
Because
necessary sometimes.
Gang violence is real, and it was real, and it was a destructive force in our communities, and it in no way
Shape, form, or fashion.
lines up with Dr. King's vision.
I don't agree. I agree with that. And as we
Period.
end the show,
Said
we
what I
have
said.
in his dream that we would all stand together as brothers and sisters. I don't want to misquote him. You know the rest of Dr. King's speech.
Not anymore. If you asked me when I was in the 4th grade, I could
I
quote it.
know. Sorry, Harambe. I know y'all taught it to us. Shauna, any closing words you want to say?
No, listen to Download and Delete. We back.
Happy New Year.
That's
Happy
right.
2022.
That's right.
I can see better. Bye.
Bye.